My name is Ian and welcome to Planted. Now in this video I want to talk to you about why I did, and you should, build a greenhouse in a greenhouse. Now this greenhouse I built, and this video is about its construction. It's tough, it's durable, and it will last many, many years. But any greenhouse, the challenge comes when you want to try and heat it. Bigger greenhouse, more expense. And that's the reason that you need this. This is a very lightweight 6mm polythene plastic sheet on a frame that I can heat to a different temperature. And this affords me so many benefits. Out here in the winter, I want to keep this above freezing. But in there, I can heat it with the aid of thermal mass and artificial heat to a much higher temperature. Because it's in the lower part of the greenhouse, the heat that rises isn't then going up into the eaves of the bigger greenhouse. I can carefully manage the temperature in here and get exactly what I want. My goal is that if I could keep that to 55 or 60 degrees in the winter, that would be great. So a greenhouse by itself isn't going to do much unless you have a plan to heat it properly. Heating an entire greenhouse is expensive. Heating a small greenhouse inside a greenhouse is very affordable, very manageable, and very practical. This is the dedicated area that I want to heat to a higher temperature. If I can keep the outside, the rest of my greenhouse, at around 40 or warmer minimum, and I can keep my interior greenhouse to 60, maybe 65, I've got the best of both worlds. I can put my tender plants in the warmer environment and also save a lot of plants from our cold weather that we have here in New England. Now remember, your structure needs to be strong enough to withstand 6 months construction. I'm going to build it now in October, November, December, January, February, March. Sometime in April I'll take it down because we'll have nice temperatures. But it doesn't need to be permanent. It doesn't need to be made from 2x4s. You don't need to be using bolts, and there's certainly no concrete involved, because the greenhouse that I built prior with the galvanized steel tubes, because that takes all the weight and the mass, I'm very comfortable drilling a few holes into that frame and adding these wooden rails. And these wooden rails are deliberately longer than I need because I'm not exactly sure where the termination is going to come. So I'm not too quick to start cutting things to a final length. But what I do want to point out to you is that I am pre-drilling the holes in my steel tubes and my horizontal wooden rails. So all of that is properly fitted and properly spaced, and I know exactly where it needs to go. I would encourage you not to take all these off at once, because you might be tempted to then start putting them in the wrong place. So when you take them off, you'll take it off and then put it immediately back. It's not difficult. If you can build a greenhouse, if you can assemble a greenhouse, you can absolutely add a few horizontal wooden rails, sufficient enough to support your plastic sheet. Now I do want to make the point that the plastic sheet is not fitted to the interior of these wooden rails. It is trapped between the wooden rail and the galvanized steel frame, and that's very important. To terminate the end of my little small greenhouse, I cut some lumber into thin strips, less than half an inch, and laminated them together. I got these little crocodile clips that helped me get even pressure and make this curve, and I was able to screw those on to the oversized length of my horizontal rails, making sure I got it level and exactly in place. I left this overnight, and I've got to say, it turned out very good. Total thickness is less than an inch, and I think that I cut the strips down to about 1/4 of an inch. Here we have the test fit of the end of my greenhouse inside a greenhouse. I had a piece of spare plastic. I just wanted to make sure that it was the right size. Now, this is another reason why you don't want to fill your wooden barrels filled with water, they're going to take in heat during the heat of the day and release it at night. If you fill those too soon, then you can't move them. So I was very happy that I hadn't filled them and was able to move them out of the way so I could put the plastic sheeting up. I had these crocodile clips that were invaluable. I could just put a clip, move the plastic out of the way, and then tighten another clip. And it meant that I didn't have acres of plastic in front of me and I couldn't see what I was doing. And here we go with our first horizontal rail. We're starting at ground level and that's been fixed. And here I am using the drill to put in the self-tapping screws into the already identified ideal spacing. The termination end to the left, where the laminated curve is, that's what I would call the datum end. I want that flat and flush and straight, and everything gets pulled away from that. If you don't have a datum end, it's very easy to get creases and wrinkles. And once you get creases and wrinkles, that will help trap pooling condensation. This should drain. We might get a little bit of condensation, but nothing too difficult to manage. Here we see the adjustment of the little crocodile clips. Said it before, say it again, they were a big help. They didn't damage or puncture the plastic in any way. When fastening the new wooden rails, having them pre-drilled made it so much easier. The little crocodile clips kept the plastic out of the way and I could get the right tension. And all I had to do then was offer up the new rail, match it to its predetermined spot, put the self-tapping screw in, and we're good to go. Very happy with the outcome. Now here's something for you to think about. You want to have as few joints as possible. So I've taken it from ground level, on the bottom left, up and then down to the right. And that's all one piece. And what that means is that there's no joints. There's no air gaps for the warm air to escape. Here I am just cutting off the excess plastic from the attachment to the building. So this is that first phase done. And you can see here I use some little wooden offcuts and a screw to fasten the datum edge onto my laminated frame. That laminated frame took me probably half an hour to make. Rip up some strips, get some glue on there, and then just fasten it to fit. I was able to screw it onto the horizontal rails. And here we go with the final layer, and this is the termination, this is the end. And very important to pay attention here, get a nice overlap on top, and you want those two faces to have no wrinkles, no creases, and then you will do just fine. Be sure to watch the future videos in this series. We'll be talking about the very important need for ventilation, heat sources, heat management, and finally we'll get some plants in here. Thank you so much. Bye for now.